I rip Biggie Smalls and Junior Mafia, some mark ass bitches. We keep on coming while we running for your jewels. Steady gunning, keep on busting at them fools. You know the rules. Little Caesar, go ask your homie how I leave you. Cut your young ass up. Leave you in peace.
Hey guys, and you're here with Juzzie. I'm here looking at the modifications to my TweakedGSX. And the first thing I'm going to look at installing today is a frame slider for the bike. Now, I actually purchased a frame slider for my last bike, and I ended up removing it later because I was more confident with the bike, but I actually installed a part that meant that I couldn't have the frame slider in place. On this bike, it is more of a sport bike / street sport bike, and so I won't be putting any aero on it that is other than what comes from factory. But this is a part that cost me somewhere around $40 to $50 Australian delivered, and the price will vary depending on where you are in the world. But basically, all of these frame sliders are made with a very common purpose, and that is to protect your bike from getting excessive damage in the event of a fall or if you come off the bike. They basically have 3 common parts to them. This one actually has 4. And you'll see here that it comes with a bolt that you install here. So you take out the one that's there, you use the one that this comes with, which is a bit longer. And the reason why it's longer is because it has to go through this aluminium and Delrin part, so that you've got enough thread to keep it nice and sturdy and to go through to the engine. So the frame is here, the engine's behind it, and that bolt is used to keep the engine in place. But we're going to be adding this frame slider on top, so that bolt just goes straight through. As you can see here, this part just comes with a nice aesthetic GSX S. This means that they can put whatever model bike to help keep the costs down. And then you've got a part here which is kind of like that Delrin hard plasticky feel that most of these things are made of. So this is just a cosmetic part. It just slides in there. It can go either way, and then you simply put this in and screw it in. So I'm going to do that now, but before I do that, I'll just do a quick little talk about the tools that I use for my job. Now, I use a Ryobi impact wrench. It's an 18 volt. I can use this one with plenty of tools around my house. It's certainly not the best brand out there, but it is a very good priced and very reliable driver. You can get cheapy ones, more cheaper than this, from Bunnings, which is our big hardware store in Australia. But I like it because it comes with the 18 volt battery. But most importantly, just like any impact wrench, you can put your socket adjusters on there. But the main thing I wanted to talk about is that you should always invest in a good set of drivers. When you use a hand fastening Allen key to remove bolts, you more than likely are going to either round a tool because it's not going to be good quality, or you're going to find that you're going to round the inner part of the bolt. You're much best off getting a good set like this one. This is a Kinchrome hardened set. I've used this when I started doing the build on my last motorbike, which features on this channel, and I swear by any sort of Allen key with a hardened set like this. It just makes the job so easy. The driver just has 3 settings, 1, 2 and 3, with 3 being the highest. You won't need to drive any bolt in this bike on any setting higher than 1, but generally speaking, I just use 3 to undo any bolts. So this is an M8 sized Allen driver, and so when you go to put this in, it's fine to undo the bolt. The engine has other bolts in it. It's not going to fall or come out of place. So just give it one quick hit. So that was on the weakest setting. So that's setting 1. But yeah, if it's on setting 3, it would just come right out. So this is the length of the factory bolt. And as you can see, this bolt here is just that little bit longer. You can see it there, so that it can allow you to fit the frame slider in. Now, as I was saying, simply just insert the bolt through there. Always a good idea to just try to hand tighten the bolt in so that you don't have any problems with the bolt threading in any way. And then once you know that you've got it hand tighten a bit, just very slowly and gently drive that in. I've got my action cam on a mount there, but don't do it all the way though. So basically what I want you to do is just tighten it to the part where you've still got a little bit of rotation in it, and that's because on this particular type of frame slider you want to line up so that the GSX S is sitting, what's the word, horizontal to the floor. So you simply just wind it in, and as you can see, that's upside down. So you would want it to be around about here. Okay, so that's horizontal to the floor. Now I haven't got that bolt driven all the way in yet, but that's roughly where I'd want it to be. So when I unwind this one out, I want to make sure that I hold this here, because if I rotate this as I'm tightening the bolt, it's going to upset where the final resting position is for that text. Now from factory, this bolt does not utilize Loctite. You won't see any Loctite on this bolt at all. So I'm just going to do exactly what the manufacturer has done, but there have been some bolts that I've seen on this bike that do have Loctite, say for example, as a part of the handlebar clamps. But yeah, I won't be doing it if the manufacturer does not. So all right, so I'm going to just hold this now, give it one quick punch. All right, so I now know that that is locked in, so that when I go to put this frame slider on, it's now perfect. So I've got that tight. I could crank it and it would turn, but it'd be pretty hard to turn it, but I don't need to do that. So this is at a good resting position now. So that looks pretty neat. As you can see, it just gives you that amount of protection so that if your bike does topple over, it's a nice stealthy install. When you're looking from the side, all of the bike's black there. When you come through here, even though you've got the color there, it's pretty good. So you can buy these with varying lengths. I bought this one because it does give you the amount of length to come out just past where the handlebars are, and it just ties in well with the bike. So the next thing I'm going to talk about now, which I've actually installed, is just a set of handlebar risers. So this is just going to help the people that have got too shorter or too longer arms from the factory position. So this one just only cost about $25–30 Australian delivered. It's a no-name part, so take for that what you may. You can buy a part that comes from We Bike Japan, which is something like $300 Australian for a set of risers. But I've used some no-name risers before and I've had no issues with them, and I couldn't see any problem with these when I installed them, so I'm going to give them a shot. So the link for this will also be in the description box below, but basically the way that you go about it is that you need to use a very flat head screwdriver, small screwdriver, to pry out these plastic bolts, and then you'll have a cap just like this that's has the bar in a slightly forward position. Once you remove those caps, you just use a M6 driver to remove all 4 caps. When I did remove those bolts, I found that there was some Loctite on all 4 of those bolts. So whenever you put bolts back in, make sure you use Loctite as well. Now just go in closer. So as you can see, that's the factory bottom clamp. This clamp goes through the top plate here, and there's a bolt, there's a nut that tightens that bolt on the lower side. When you buy this, what you're buying is this top part for this, which actually serves as the bottom part now. So you've got the lower part of the riser plus a new clamp. The clamp is flat in comparison to the factory one. It's a flat finish. The factory one has like a cone shape here, and in the factory manual it says if you do go to put them back on, make sure that the cone part is pointing to the front. It's like a triangle. But yeah, this one, it actually came with a socket Allen key type, and it also came with a mushroom style on this side. And the reason for that is because if you put this one into the bottom side, then it fouls the actual handlebar itself. So the mushroom one has to go on the side closest to the rider. So this one only had to be driven in at 23 Newton meters, which is 17 foot-pounds of torque. So when you go to tighten that in, just make sure that you use a torque wrench like this, which will tell you Newton meters and foot-pounds of torque values, and tighten it until you hear that click. When you hear that click, of course, it's in the right setting. So I drove those two in, then I fit the handlebar. What I found with this handlebar is it doesn't have the little notches that it did on my Honda. So basically, all the tightening force is purely just in the clamp. Whereas on some bars, which I think is a better design, when you have little ridges on the bar, it just helps the grip. It kind of like just feels like it's little teeth, and it just has got no way to move. But if you do tighten it to the factory specification, then you're going to have no issues at all. So all of these bolts, so there's one here, one on the back side, and then there's two to tighten down this riser. They're all set to 23 Newton meters, which is 17 foot-pounds of torque. Now the good thing is that these plastic caps then fit into the same socket style, but not genuine bolt that came with this riser part. And as you can see, I've got this riser so that it's sitting slightly back. So these are 1-inch risers, and they're called setback risers, or they're set forward risers, depending on which way you want them. So if you're a tall fellow, you've got long arms, then you can rotate that and the bar will go forward. The advantage to being a shorter rider is that when it comes back to you, the bar's not actually going to be impeding your display. And if you're like me and you want to put the quad lock phone mount right in the middle and have it sitting sideways, then in that case, then you're going to be able to look at your GPS maps. It's going to look nice and horizontal, and the phone is going to be here and it's not going to impede the display. Whereas if you've got it forward, then straight away the bar's right in front of the display, and then the phone is even worse, so you'd have to rotate your quad lock down. So I think this mod does aesthetically help a shorter rider, but it does, physically help a longer, taller arm reach rider. So it's got benefits for both people. But the good news is that if you are a shorter rider, then when you go full lock, there are no concerns with the bar or any of the controls fouling the body. So I go full right now. As you can see, the starter button does not foul the body in any way. I'll just walk around just to give you guys 100% view. Alright, so I'll just put the bike back to the straightforward position. So you've been looking at this in all of my video footage so far, showing what it looks like with the riser there. You can hardly even notice it's there. Because it's black, it just looks like factory. Of course, when you go to sit on the bike, it means that you're going to be in a slightly more up position if you are a shorter rider, and if you're a tall rider, it's basically going to not make you feel so cramped, and you'll be able to stretch out. So I think it's a cheap, worthwhile mod just to try, see if you like it. If you don't, if you're lucky enough and you're at the right height, then yeah, you're not going to have any concerns, and you can just ride with the factory clamping mechanism in place. Last thing I want to mention is that when you've got the controls in the back position, the cables here are no problem at all. The line for the cylinder here is taut, but it still does have a little bit of play, so it is okay. And then the only thing I did was, from factory, there's a zip tie around this bundle of cables and this one. I removed this one just so it had a tiny bit of play, but there is no issue with the cable. You can see it's got play there. It's not going to be of concern. If I do ride over the coming months and see that there's a problem, which I can't see why it would be, then I'll let you guys know. But this is certainly looking like a winner for a person of my height. Alright, so now we're looking at the final install for this particular video, and that is the install of the Motozar carbon fiber rear seat cowl for this bike. So before I installed this part, I about a week ago put some ceramic coating onto this part. Not before though, I actually masked off this area so that I could blacken the mesh. It comes with grey mesh from factory, so there's 1, 2, 3, and then one on the other side. And I just thought that the grey didn't really even match with the grey that's on the bike here. So it does look much more stealthier with the black. Underneath, the part actually looks, I'll just sit down. The part just looks like this. So it is a plastic part, which has been hydro dipped carbon. It does come with a sort of a latched area, if that's right, that enables you to put this clamp through it. Alright guys, so what I've done here is I've just removed the bolt that comes from factory and then slid this bracket onto here. One side of this battery that comes with the Motozar seat cowl has some rubber spongy material on, so that when you go to fit this mount on, it doesn't scratch your plastics in any way. So that's really cool. So then what you can do is, once you've got that back in, there is no protrusion here for the back of the seat. It can still fit under here. So that goes in nicely, nowhere near the seat, so it's not going to foul it in any way. And then you can just simply push the seat in. As you know, it's just locked from factory. So this is not touching the seat cover in any way, which is super nice. So then you go to try and fit this seat cowl here. So basically you have to fit this in so that it's nice and snug underneath. And the bracket has no room for adjustment. So when you put the bolt in, it's just got a hole which is just big enough for the bolt. So you have to actually push this seat cowl so that it's in as far as you can go at the bottom here. So it's nice and down. And then using your hand, what you'll find is if you have a look from underneath, the bracket is about 1.5 centimeters away from the loop opening. So you do have to push it a little bit to get it back in. But what you can do, if you wanted to not have to bend it so much, is you can remove the seat. But I think that it's just a little bit too much to do without removing that cover. Now the good news is that this is not fouling the seat in any way, so that the bracket is sitting in a nice position. The most inconvenient part about it though is that once you put the loop on, in order to take this cover off and access the seat, the lockable area, it does look like you would have to have a bolt handy to remove the side panel so that you can get the main seat off. That to me is a little bit of a pain, but it's a question you'd have to ask yourself is how often are you actually accessing the lockable area part. So I will just pause the video and unlock remove the driver's seat part, and we'll see how that fits in. Okay guys, so in order to remove the seat, I've just used a 5mm Allen key on the impact wrench to undo this bolt and the one exactly the same on the opposite side. So now what you need to do is just use a little bit of hand under here and under here to pull this plastic part away. It's actually just held in by some like tiny little rubber grommets underneath. So this first part is away. Second part. It's a little bit tight, as you can imagine. The bike's only got 400 Ks on it. So there's one just here next to this one, and there's meant to be one up in this top corner region. Okay, so I can feel it's just here. So right where this black bend comes, there is one just about here, about 3 centimeters up from that part. And then it comes out. Now, I've seen plenty of videos saying that there's a little hook here that breaks. And if you just rip this up, then sure enough, that's gonna come off. So the best thing to do is to lift here. So 1, 2, 3. Here's what it looks like on the bottom side. 1, 2, 3. And yeah, then you'll be good to go. So the fourth one is actually an indentation into this part. So it looks like what they do is they put a bolt here under the seat. So once you do this bolt, once you take these 2 panels off on either side, then you take these 2 bolts off and then the seat can go up. So let's check the other side. So again, let's get you guys tucked in on this ride. So again, I've just undone the bolt here. So I'm going to do a similar thing. Put my hand right behind and just gently pull out on both sides. I'm assuming there's one just here. Yep, I can feel it on the back. And then I'm not going to push this back. I'm just going to slide this gently this way out so that I don't break that tab. So I'm going to put that well and truly out of the way. Okay, so I'm now using the same 5mm Allen key to undo this bolt, which is locking in the seat. Nice and easy to come out. Do the same on the other side. Okay, so now that I've taken those 2 bolts out, you can just lift from the front here straight up, and then there's a hook underneath. So as you can see, it's got these 2 wide hooks that hook underneath the fairing part. Alright guys, so I've just had a look at what it looks like underneath here. I've just got the hinge pin for the tank, the battery, fuses, everything's 100% stock. So now that I've got that rider's seat off, I'll now be able to fit the motor's seat well and truly over. So I don't have to worry about what's on the front now, because I've got heaps of room now just to simply try and slide this seat cowl over the bracket. So it's got heaps of bracket in beneath here. It's not going to come off in any way at all. So it's nice and secure. And yeah, it fits really nice and snug underneath or on top of that seat. So yeah, that's how you would actually you would install that seat. I'll just pop that plastic part underneath and push that down. So you can see now why you've got to do that, because there'd be so much flex on the seat cowl to try and get it off. But yeah, it sits nice and comfortable on there now. The bracket there on the back, it can't come off. Let's just have a look around. So that's pretty nice. It fits. Fit is fairly good, not 100%. So it is just that tiny bit up there at the back. Maybe that will settle with time. I guess the downside to this is that yes, you can't easily get to a lockable area. So I'm just not 100% on this mod, but I know that there'll be plenty of people that are out there that are considering wanting to do something like this, and at least you know what it looks like. There's no doubt it looks amazing on it. Having the carbon fiber there and what's the word? The design language of that seat cowl looks pretty nice. Alright guys, so that's been the install of the seat cowl, the frame sliders and the handlebar risers for the GSX S750. I hope you've liked this video. If you like it, please like and comment. Please subscribe to my video so that you can see the next install. I think the next install I'm going to do is going to be my tail tidy and putting the number plate on. And so for that reason, I'm not going to reinstall these plastic parts. But yeah, hope you join me for that next video, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye for now.
From the Jackson, go to sleep 6 feet deep. I give you a beat for the 100, but if I was 3 foot 11, you look up to me, and for the record, you would so